going silent. You may want to turn your phone off. I have mine on silent, but it might keep it on. Yes. Thanks everybody for being here. Let's have some noise. Let's come on. Sometimes, when there is a negative occurrence in our lives, such an occurrence provides us all with an opportunity to take the negative and create positive opportunities for the future. Well, that's the case in the Pittsburgh region. In 2010, the Pittsburgh region was listed as 40th in the entire nation with regard to the conditions of the black working poor and black children. We in Pittsburgh often point to our many number 1 and number top 10 ratings over the years, for which we have a great sense of pride. But in this instance, our entire Pittsburgh region's rating was what I call a reverse number 1. We were in fact dead last. Members of the Black Political Empowerment Project and our Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence found this rating unacceptable. And we launched Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable, CEIR, in 2011. And by May 2013, we hosted our first CEIR conference at Duquesne University, where we had Art Room II, president of the Pittsburgh Steelers, as one of our keynote speakers. He also gave us permission to utilize the Rudy Rule, the name of the Rudy Rule, in our work of attempting to expand diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout the Pittsburgh region. Except our definition would be much more expansive than the original, which focused on getting blacks as head coaches and later hiring blacks into the top echelon of coaching. Our CIR comprehensive Rudy Rule with results requests all employers in our Pittsburgh region to consider the employment of African Americans for all available job opportunities, from entry level to the C-suite. And to consider African Americans for all contractual opportunities. For clarification, that doesn't mean that all the jobs go to black people. It means we're in the Rolodex of Pittsburgh. Our theory is simple. If employers in our region adopt and committedly implement the comprehensive Rudy Rule with results, the living conditions across the board throughout the black communities of our region will be greatly improved. And the violence which continues to negatively impact our communities will subside through time and hopefully substantially. CIR was created out of the work of the Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence. Our CIR playbook aimed at creating diversity, equity, and inclusion provides a roadmap for action as to how to fully implement a new, meaningful, effective, and truly sustained level of diversity, equity, and inclusion within every workplace. The playbook also calls for use of Ban the Box, which provides the opportunity for persons with criminal backgrounds to create what I call new foregrounds, meaning a true opportunity for those who choose to start their lives anew. The city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County adopted Ban the Box some time ago. B-Pep, the Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence and Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable, urged all employers to do the same. What we're asking every employer to do is to identify an implementation team who would be charged with reviewing in detail the B-Pep CIR playbook and identify who within the organization should be responsible for assessing and implementing specific sections of the playbook, and be charged with creating a timeline for results. The Black Political Empowerment Project and the Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable are pleased that Pittsburgh's 3 sports franchises have confirmed their intent to make full use of the CER playbook as they move forward with their diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI initiatives. The National Football League, the NFL, Major League Baseball, the MLB, and the National Hockey League, the NHL, all recognize the importance of creating and sustaining environments that are welcoming and supportive for all. We've included in our media packet an overview of the DEI commitments of these major 3 sports organizations. Recent events, locally and nationally, highlight the need for authentic, meaningful leadership in eliminating race-based disparities that contribute to severe economic disparities, educational inequalities, and most alarmingly, physical injury and indeed death. Today stands as a transformational moment in time when Pittsburgh's 3 major professional sports franchises boldly recertified their unshakable commitment to supporting full human rights for all. Professional football, baseball, and hockey are core to the identity of Western Pennsylvania. B-Pep, the Greater Pittsburgh Coalition Against Violence, and CEI are pleased that the Pittsburgh professional sports community acknowledges and accepts the core recommendations of our CER playbook. The CER Roundtable is committed to partnering, fully supporting, and assuring accountability for region-wide civil and human rights for all. We thank our sports team partners for being with us tonight to personally share their commitment to this important work. We will now hear from the president of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Art Mooney II, who was the first leader of the major local sports team to accept our request to adopt and implement the CR playbook. He's out of town, but he wanted to share his personal commitments with regard to this important work. Shall we give a hand to our president?
To be with you this evening, as I'm attending the NFL Combine in Indianapolis this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers are excited to have all of you here this evening at Acrisure Stadium. We are also excited to stand alongside the Black Political Empowerment Project's Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable as they spearhead this evening's announcement of the adoption and implementation of the CEIR playbook by all 3 major sports teams in Pittsburgh. Most of you have heard of the National Football League's Rooney Rule. In Pittsburgh, CEIR has expanded the rule for African Americans to be considered for all positions of employment from entry-level jobs to the C-suite, as well as being considered for all contractual opportunities throughout the Pittsburgh region. This expanded rule is an integral part of the CEIR playbook. The CEIR playbook gives the Pittsburgh Steelers and all entities in the Pittsburgh region a step-by-step game plan for action to accomplish meaningful diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout their organization. As president of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I am proud to support this initiative and share it with the other owners throughout the league. I look forward to working with CEIR, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pittsburgh Penguins to further develop strategies and action steps to improve equity and inclusion throughout our entire region. Now I turn over our role in tonight's event to the Steelers Senior Advisor to the President, David Morehouse.
Thank you, Art. Thanks, Tim. I want to thank everyone for coming and joining us today. It's a very important event. So thanks for being here. The Steelers are proud to have implemented the Rooney Rule throughout the NFL, and we're proud that it's going to be adopted in other businesses around the community, around the NFL. But as Art said, there's work behind the Rooney Rule too. And Tim was talking about some of the stats. We're used to the Pirates, the Penguins, and the Steelers. We're used to leading the leagues and leading in different categories. We don't like to hear that we're 40th in anything. So that's the bad news. The good news is you have the Pirates, the Penguins, and the Steelers here. And there's no city that I've seen that has 3 sports teams that are more dedicated to helping their community, helping in racial diversity, inclusion, and justice than the Pirates, the Penguins, and the Steelers. Now, it just so happens that Travis and I worked on this with Tim 16 years ago when Travis was with the Penguins. We started a job program that Tracy and Delvina actually announced a few months ago that was designed for middle school students originally, but I think high school students now, with the Pittsburgh Promise. That gives, it's not a jobs program, it's a hope program. It gives kids a chance to hope that they can walk into some of these building trades jobs, high-paying building trades jobs. So I'm very proud of the fact that, the people I work with at Honor are here, and we're all going to work together as we move forward to do what Art said, which was start putting some meat behind the Rooney Rule and implementing it across the Pittsburgh region. And as I said, I want to thank Travis from the Pirates, Tracy and Delvina from the Penguins, and we are truly lucky to have sports teams that we have in Pittsburgh that can work together like we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. We're going to hear from Tracy McCants Lewis, the Chief People Officer and General Counsel of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Playing tonight, is it? Is it tonight? And Delvina Elmora will be coming up, Vice President of Community Affairs, DEI, Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's give a shout out.
Thank you, Ted. Good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Tracy McCants Lewis. I'm Chief People Officer and General Counsel for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And we could not be more proud to be here today, standing next to our fellow sports teams, next to the Steelers and the Pirates, expressing our commitment to CEIR, Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable. Pittsburgh has some work to do, and we are committed to get dirty doing that work. We have the playbook, and we at the Pittsburgh Penguins are excited to announce that we are dedicated to using that playbook as our game plan to promote diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging at our organization. We want to be a welcoming and belonging organization, and we are striving to do that. We're working to provide opportunities for African Americans in the front office, in hockey operations. We also want to work with vendors, having those contractual obligations with individuals that look like me. They can come into the Pittsburgh Penguins and work and have opportunity. We also want to make sure that our workforce, we're providing those opportunities, those economic opportunities, even what David talked about, working with individuals that look like me again, that will work on our development site. We are so proud again to partner with CEIR on this great endeavor that is going to bring economic opportunity. I think that's the most important thing for African Americans here in the city of Pittsburgh. Thank you very much. Up next, we have Delvina Elmora, my colleague. Good evening. Again, Delvina Elmora. I'm our Vice President of Community Affairs, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Tracy already spoke a lot to our commitment, and I'm just going to talk a little bit further on that. At the Pittsburgh Penguins, we are committed to advancing and positively impacting Black people and Black businesses in our region. When we think about our mission and vision, it's to be the best organization in sports, respected for our culture of excellence on and off the ice. And this playbook has really helped us to continue on that mission and vision. We strive to achieve the impact we want to have in the region by actively listening to our partners and the communities that we work within and that we serve. And we do this by investing in and elevating people, companies, and organizations, giving them the voice through intentionality and inclusivity as we create programs and efforts that provide access and opportunity for all. You can see this in the community, you can see this at a hockey game, and you can see this across our brand and all that we do. The CEIR playbook has helped us to further create an inclusive organization and workplace culture that recognizes and values all backgrounds, voices, roles, and contributions. And it further guides us to creating impact across supplier diversity, recruitment, and retention. So we're excited to be a part of this work. And I am going to introduce, do you want me to introduce the next person? Yes, okay. I'm going to introduce Travis Williams, the president of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you for inviting us here this evening. Sorry, I'm battling a little bit of a cold, so apologies for the voice. But we're really happy to be here tonight alongside of our fellow sports teams in Pittsburgh, the Steelers and the Penguins. I continue to try to train myself to say Penguins opposite Pirates because David probably has the same issues, although yours starts with an S and mine's a P, so I get tripped up occasionally. But in all seriousness, we are proud to be here tonight to celebrate. And I think this is a celebration that we're all joining arm in arm. We do so often in the community. We do a lot of great things together, all three sports teams. And it's nice that we're coming together around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just from the Pirates' perspective, we obviously have a long history of working in this space. I mean, going back to, quite frankly, having the first all-minority lineup 50 years ago, or a little over 50 years ago. And so Pirates have been groundbreakers in the D&I space for quite some time. Roberto Clemente's team, and obviously we all know what he meant to this community, and obviously the Latin American community as well. We're very involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just with respect to the Black and Brown communities, which I know we're here to celebrate the playbook today, in and around that, but also around sexual orientation and around gender as well. And so we make sure that those are important focuses of ours. It's really a top-down approach from the Pirates' perspective. It starts with our chairman, Bob Metting, to myself, and to our GM, Ben Sherrington. And frankly, we were really sparked a few years ago by the George Floyd murder, a very unfortunate situation. And as you said at the start of this, Tim, when you have unfortunate situations, you turn them into positives. And we really did take that opportunity to spark a conversation. I see my good friend Ron Porter sitting in the audience who helped us spark that conversation internally and work through that. But it really gave us the opportunity to create an advisory committee and step back and take a fresh look at what we were doing. And we really focused in around three pillars within the organization. It was people, it was culture, and it was community. And around our people in terms of how we recruit and how we retain them, around our culture in terms of how we're engaging and empowering our people in the office to be able to talk and have those difficult conversations around race and other topics. And then ultimately in terms of community, how do we procure, how do we do our purchasing, how are we doing things where we, through Pirates Charities and other community-based initiatives, how are we investing in the community, in those underserved communities and underrepresented classes. So we really did take it very seriously, again, from a top-down perspective. And then, Tim came and knocking on the door, interestingly enough, and said, hey, we'd like you to really think about adopting the playbook. And it's something that Tim and I have talked about for some time in terms of what he's doing in the community, which is great work through B-Pep. And as we lined up what we were doing and what we lined up the playbook side by side, oddly enough, we found that we were very, very closely aligned already. But what the playbook really did, it had a great assessment tool in it. And what it really did is it gave us a chance to step back and see where we were deficient. And like we can all, we can always get better, right? We can always do work to get better in what we're doing throughout our organization. But it gave us an opportunity to step back and realize that we could improve. And so I'm going to let Niley Russo, who's our VP of People and Strategy, talk through a little bit about how we lined up and where those deficiencies were and how we're working on them as an organization. Because I think it's important to show how that really works and how the assessment tool that is in the playbook can really help us all improve our organization. It's not just the sports teams, but I think quite frankly, more broadly across the whole entire business community within the Pittsburgh region. So before I hand it over to Natalie, I just want to applaud the work that you're doing at B-Pep, Tim, not just with respect to the playbook, but across the entire region, and making sure that we have these honest conversations around tough topics. And it's only when you can have those honest conversations around tough topics that good things happen. And I think the sports teams hopefully are starting that conversation tonight.
All right, I don't know if I can follow that, but I'll try my best. So Travis is right, and I'm just gonna say, so Naive Rusolong, I am the Vice President of People and Strategy, and I oversee our D&I efforts. And the biggest thing for us at the Pirates is action and results, right? It doesn't matter if we have the best intentions, if we're not putting things in place, right? It has to be systematic changes that are happening. And for us in the D&I space, we believe that it belongs to everybody. It has to be top down, but people has to apply these things and then use them. And actually, when I met Tim and Travis introduced me to the tool, I remember our first meeting, I told him, you should be promoting this out there because this is a phenomenal tool to utilize. And just so you all know, the playbook details 41 initiatives. We have implemented 84% of them. So 34 of those initiatives have been implemented.
All right, come on, man.
And which is very exciting. And the 5 that we have not, we have 5 that we haven't implemented yet. We are in the process of considering how we can actually do it. And 2 of them are just not applicable to us. But that just tells you that the tool really gives you an ability to assess where you are and how you get better. Some of these things, you know, when we looked at it, we said, there's no reason for us not to have this here. Another thing that we realized too is that the playbook is really centered around the experience of the African American community. And we have to be cognizant of that. There are things that are different. And we have to have an intentionality behind the things that we do. So for example, some of the things around the way in which we recruit, the way in which we attract people, how we retain them, how we ensure that our underrepresented groups feel a sense of belonging, right? And that's something that we really took into consideration from the perspective of our African American community. And oftentimes, you know, the seats at the table don't have representation. And so we need to have people who are bringing these voices forward, and that allows us to have those changes happening. Another thing that we have done based on the playbook is that we, of course, implemented having a diverse panel in all the interviews to try to minimize biases, which is absolutely crucial. Always keeping in mind that we don't want to overburn our employees, but it has to be a part of what we do. We also developed a KPI dashboard specifically to diversity, where we track all of our measures in every single level, from the entry level all the way to the highest level. I am actually proud to say that we have, since 2020 to 2022, improved from 9% to 18% African American in our seasonal staffing. And we're very proud of that. I mean, it's been a lot of effort. And we're not as good there in the front office yet. We did go to about a 3-point improvement, but we have a lot of work to do, and so we're really trying that. And another thing we've done very, very well is that we have a Kurt Roberts event. It's called Kurt Roberts' Step Up to the Plate. Kurt Roberts was our first player of color, and so in his honor, we created an internship program where we award 4 internships to specifically diverse interns, and I'm proud to say that we actually ended up hiring one of them this season. So we are really trying to create opportunities for our African American community and to give them an opportunity to be at the table. And our community efforts are very, very involved. We actually have the largest RBI program on MLB, which is revitalizing baseball, and is very focused on underrepresented communities. So we have done a lot of work to ensure that we're driving this playbook and that we're utilizing it in our day-to-day decision. And I just want to reiterate something that Tim said earlier. You have to have an implementation team. You have to have somebody who's looking at this day in and day out, right? In my case, Travis has trusted me to do that, but I trust my team to also do it. And so we are responsible for assessing these things, driving the work, and then keeping it top of mind day in and day out. And that's what the assessment in this tool really does. But we have to measure it, because if we don't measure, we can make changes. So I would say for anybody, first of all, this is a phenomenal tool, so you have to use it. So anybody who's watching, please do it. But I just want to say, Tim, thank you, because it really has helped us. We were very aligned, as Travis said. There were things that we already had. You just gave us a different perspective, and it allows us to really get better. So thank you for that.
All right.
Thanks, Nancy. And Travis, very powerful presentation for us. We are bringing up now, while we can tie in what you heard, to a very practical perspective. And we have with us the Executive Vice President of Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council, EMSDC. Can we say that? EMSDC. Christina Cash.
Thank you, Tim, and good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Great to be here. Again, I'm Tristina Cash, EVP of the Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council, and I'm delighted to be here today representing our organization on behalf of our President, Brian Oglesby, and our Board of Directors. We are excited to announce a new initiative from EMSDC that seeks to impact the world of professional and collegiate sports and minority businesses. Our sports engagement initiative will be a collaborative effort dedicated to promoting a more inclusive and diverse business landscape. As a nonprofit organization, EMSDC works tirelessly to create procurement opportunities for minority-owned businesses, that is Black, Asian, Hispanic, Native American businesses that are. Our certification is recognized nationally, internationally, by corporate development. EMSDC aims to create a more inclusive and equitable supply chain for all, providing corporations access to and having participated to some degree in the development of the playbook, Vibrant Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Pirates, and our corporate members, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and many other public and private sector organizations, as well as the City of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and other surrounding municipalities. Again, on behalf of our corporate members, which there are many local level and national level corporate members within Southwestern Pennsylvania, are certified MBEs who make a $7 billion contribution to our economy in Pennsylvania, and our board of directors. We thank you for joining us today as we introduce this exciting and impactful new initiative as we support the adoption of the CEIR DEI playbook.
All right. Once again, that was Christina Cash. I'm going to bring up a young lady who all of us B-Peppers are so excited about. She is our executive assistant for the Coalition Against Violence and Corporate Equity and Inclusion Roundtable. But in less than 12 hours, she will be the Youth Peace Summit coordinator on the 1st of March. She's very special. Shayla Holmes will share with you another perspective of why this work is so important. Shayla Holmes.
Thank you, Tim, for the lovely introduction. It's an honor to be here. I'm truly thankful to B-Pep, CAB, CEIR for the many opportunities that they have brought into my life with, honestly, less than 2 years. I've been promoted like 3 times, so it has definitely been a great journey. And I'm truly thankful, and I thank you again to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates for adopting this powerful playbook and truly making, the changes that you need to make within your organizations. So as Tim stated, I am the executive assistant of CEIR. I've had the pleasure of having conversations with Travis and Lee and a lot of the great people that are a part of the CEIR team, as I like to call us. But I'm also the now Youth Peace Summit coordinator of Coalition Against Violence. And as Tim mentioned, CAV, Coalition Against Violence, pretty much birthed CEIR. And violence does tie into a lot of the, lack, thereof for job opportunities, right? So I have a friend by the name of Aaron Gibson Jr., and I'm going to share his story. Just to give you a brief, but truly impactful outlook on how, if we begin to provide more of our young Black and brown males and females, men and women, young and old, how they can truly make the changes that they need to make in their lives. So Aaron and I grew up in the East Liberty area, better known as Larmer area. And back then, he was one of those kids that you knew to stay away from. He was involved in the streets, but I knew that he had a good heart and that he had potential. Aaron didn't have the best upbringing, and he did grow up in poverty. Aaron eventually ended up getting incarcerated, and once he got home, he made that choice and that decision to truly make the changes he needed to make. Aaron is the perfect example of how Ban the Box is truly something that we always need to implement. Because without that second chance, he could have gone right back to the streets, right back to what he grew up knowing. And Aaron now has a successful business, I Ship and Pack, which is in the Squirrel Hill area. And I mentioned Aaron because you look at him now, you would have never thought that he was this little young boy running around terrorizing people. And I called him and I said, Aaron, do you mind if I share your story? And he said, absolutely. So Aaron is just one of my friends who has taken their story, their struggle, and turned it into prosperity and purpose. So we truly need to not only implement the CEIR playbook, but look at how employing young Black and brown men and women can truly not only change the organizations and companies that we represent, but can change their lives, which will then help them change other people's lives. And Aaron now gives back to the community as well. And he goes out speaking to young Black men and women about how they can too make the changes if they choose to do better. So I thank you all for your time, and I just want us to always remember that we are all in this together, no matter what gender or skin color we are. And I'm proud to be from Pittsburgh. I love all of our sports teams. This is truly a special celebratory moment. And I thank Tim Stevens for bringing us all together. Thank you.
Sheila Holmes, give her another hand. I'd like to thank members of our CEIR working group, one of whom expected to be here, and for reasons beyond his control is not. And I feel really bad about that because he's been one of our anchors. Ronald B. Saunders. Let's clap for him. So I'd like our key members who've been with us, working on the document or the playbook, revising it several occasions. Stand up. I want the other folks to just give you a big hand. All of you who've been with us, all of you who've been with us, come on, different times. So they've stayed the course in our collective efforts to make a difference for the Pittsburgh region.
Introduce your vice president.
Let me do one so. Any of you watching, that's why we need the police at times. Valerie Dixon, would you stand, our vice chair of B-Pep and co-convener of the Coalition Against Violence? Civic Engagement Coordinator, Lorraine Cross, stand up, please. Helping with all our election efforts, all that, to make a difference. And the whole team is what is going to make this region different and more progressive and more effective and more real. We're thankful to all the members of the B-Pep Planning Council for showing their continuous dedication and support for all of what we do. Let's give our B-Peppers a hand. B-Peppers, what are your fingers? Especially grateful to Blair Holmes. She's hiding out in the back. Director of Community Relations for the Steelers, for helping coordinating logistics here at Acrisure Stadium. She's in the back of the hand. And for arranging the president, Art Rooney II, even though he was going to be out of town, we talked and she was able to convince him to do the video, and we very much appreciate that for this historic moment. We obviously thank our 3 major sports teams for coming through for us and for adopting and for beginning to implement. Can we say implement? Can we say implement? Can we say implement? The playbook. And we thank our program participants, including David Morehouse, Steelers Senior Advisor to the President, Tracy McCants Lewis, Chief People Officer and General Counsel for the Penguins, Delvina El Moro, Vice President, Community Affairs and DEI for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Nelly Russo-Long, Vice President of the Strategies for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and of course, Travis Williams, President of the Pittsburgh Pirates, who had the idea of having the 3 entities come together. So let's give him a special hand. I didn't think of that. He did. For a joint press conference. This wouldn't have happened if you didn't tell me. So he came up with it, and those of you who know me know I hear a good idea, I say, let's go. So that didn't take long to say yes. We appreciate too the contributions of our CR partners, Christina Cash, Executive Vice President, Eastern Minorities Fire Development Council, EMSDC, and of course, B-Pep and CUV's own Shayla Holmes. Again, March 1st at midnight, she becomes the Youth Peace Summit coordinator. If you see a little emotion, it's because she's very special to all of us. And we've been very fortunate. Roy Blankenship Jr. would feel some kind of way if I didn't say anything, because he's our community organizer. So, and we're thankful to Nelly. We saw Hearts of Rain, her video people here today, to tape tonight's event, or videotape tonight's event with our team, and with a commitment to create a video out of this event, which will go throughout Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh President Art Rooney pledged some time ago to assist with a second video, which will be shared with the NFL, along with the playbook. Through that video, B-Pep, CAV, CIR will actually have an ability to impact the nation. He'll be sharing it with all 32 teams. One of the persons from one of the TV stations was talking to me yesterday. I wasn't going to say this, but she asked, is it possible for the other 2 teams to suggest the possibility of sharing it with your other teams nationally? If that, I mean, you don't have to say it. But you can. But it really, I hadn't thought about that. Art Rooney had agreed some time ago, but I think that would be, I mean, imagine if we could send this all across the nation with 3 major sports. Wow. Put that in the notes. Wow. So, would you all think about that and discuss it internally? You don't have to have a meeting now, but we'll meet later. So, yeah. What we're doing with the video tonight, we will be sharing, and Sheila and I will be reading some sections from the playbook. But we talked to Bill Flanagan some time ago from the Allegheny Conference of Community Development, Majestic Lane, the Chief Equity Officer, about once we get this video of sharing it and having it sent through the Allegheny Conference to all the 300 plus members, the video and the playbook. So we have an opportunity to really impact thousands of people. If people really utilize this document, not for a moment. I wrote a song once called Only for a Moment. We want more than a moment. We want it to become part of the culture of every organization in the region that employs people. And think about it. Every entity did that. Did it ongoingly with a commitment. The intentionality was mentioned more than once, was it not? It will make a difference. And I truly believe, this is not rhetorical, the violence that all of us talk about, we hear about, we shake our hands about, this is how corporate Pittsburgh, universities and colleges, major nonprofits can actually turn that violence around, minimize it. This is not a conversation. It's a conversation for reality, a new reality in our Pittsburgh region. It's our hope that this historic night will lay the foundation for meaningful, effective diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout the Pittsburgh region for years and decades to come. Thank you all for being with us. It's a celebration. Thanks for staying the course. And thanks again for our teams for believing in our work and being our partners. So thank you very much. Do any of the media people have questions for any of our partners? Or we've covered it? We've covered it. Or if any of our members have a hot note that came to their mind while they were listening. Otherwise, we thank you and have a good night and a good week. I didn't hear. Oh, he wants a group photo of all our presenters. All our presenters. This one's